This episode is very, very, very proudly made in collaboration with the Indian Book Club. The Indian Book Club is India's first virtual book club, uniting readers from across the country and across the world, clearly considering that I'm wearing my one and only Nigeria jersey. If you saw that post with Timothy Chalamet, then you know what this jersey is and what it actually means, especially coming from someone who's lived in Nigeria all her life. With over 2,000 members, the club hosts engaging book club nights every weekend, offering a platform to explore new stories and authors. For more information, please visit www.theindianbookclub.com. All of that's going to be in the description of the audio episode, which is on Spotify, and probably on screen somewhere around here on the video episode if you've tuned in on YouTube. So this episode, obviously, as I have said, is available as an audio episode and as a video episode. So be sure to check out both, give some love, and of course my Instagram and all that stuff is going to be linked down below as well. So feel free to check that out as well. So today we have with us over here my Kindle. Yes, I'm currently reading Dracula. If obviously for my video viewers, I am currently reading Dracula. So far so good. I'm barely 26% in. It's a very long book. I know 400 pages isn't that bad for a lot of people, but of course, since my hiatus, I'm still trying to get back on track with the whole reading thing, and I need to ease into it, I think. And Dracula might have been a pretty heavy read to have chosen for this particular moment, but I picked it, and let's just see how it goes, you know. So far, I'm loving it. I'm not a very horror person. Like, if you know me in real life, then you know that I don't do well with horror at all. Anyway, in today's episode, we are going to be reviewing Heart Lamp by Banu Mushtaq. Unfortunately, the online version that I got does not have the actual book cover. So I just have to show you guys this. This is it. This is Heart Lamp by Banu Mushtaq, translated by Deepa Bhasti. Anyway, since I haven't been able to review books for the Indian Book Club, or like the Indian Book Club's calendar, and if you've been following me for a while now, then you know that I work with them to review the book of the month, which can be found again on www.theindianbookclub.com. And their June book of the month was Heart Lamp by Banu Mushtaq. In January of 2025, I'd made it a sort of arbitrary goal to read more Indian authored books or novels, and considering how much I've been reading over these past few months, you can clearly tell that I haven't been reading much, but I would say that I've made like a pretty good effort. At the times, like let's just like, even in my reading journey in general, I've reviewed quite a few books by Chetan Bhagat. I haven't reviewed by Sudha Murty, because when I was like in my Sudha Murty era, by the way, I've read basically all of her books. When I was in my Sudha Murty era, I hadn't had my podcast yet, and it was just a really interesting time in my reading journey, because I think that was what really got me into reading. Because I was like 12 and it was lockdown, I had literally nothing to read. The books that we did have at home were like Twinkle Khanna, Sudha Murty, Durjoy Datta, books like these. And I'm very grateful. I mean, I had a good time reading them. It really pushed me into like this version of my reading journey, and I would say like it's an era of its own. Anyway, I had started the year strong with The Forest of Enchantments, and then after that it was just downhill. Like with exams and all of that, I just couldn't make time to read more than that. Again, as I'd mentioned, I've only read a few Indian authored novels, most of Chetan Bhagat's works. I think I've read Half Girlfriend, I've read The Three Mistakes of My Life, I've read Revolution 2020, I've read 400 Days. Anywho, of course, being an Indian, a lot of these books were handed to me, and then like living in Nigeria broadened my literary perspectives as well, because, and I say this as humbly as possible, when you live outside your quote unquote home country, you get to experience more than just that. So you are opened to cultures from literally all over the world, and of course this improves one's literary prowess, because I would genuinely say, as many Nigerian authored books as I have read, I think I've read just as many, if not more, Indian authored books as well. So it's really interesting when you realize that you are being brought up with so many cultures. This culture on me, then I've got the actual Indian culture on me. It's amazing. It's very interesting. And of course, literature is like one of the best ways to actually express this kind of culture. Heart Lamp by Banu Mushtaq was originally written in Kannada. I can't read Kannada, so I got my hands on the English version, which was translated by Deepa Bhasti. I want to take a moment to appreciate the beauty of the way that the words are sort of woven into each other, into each sentence, despite having been translated. Even in the translated version, there are a lot of Kannada and Hindi words being used, which give the writing a very homey feeling, in my opinion. I haven't read many translated novels. In fact, I think this is my first ever translated novel that I'm reading. Even when I'm reading novels by my beloved Nigerian authors, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Chinua Achebe, the greats, of course, they themselves write in English, and of course, occasionally they'll drop a few Yoruba or Igbo words depending on the story. And even though like they don't necessarily affect the story, the diction that the level of diction that it brings along with it is beautiful, because it feels like you're reading more than just words. You're reading a culture. It's like, I'm not trying to defame English. Obviously, English is one of the most commonly spoken languages in the world, and maybe even the ease of it is one of the reasons why it is spoken so widely. But there are some things, there are some expressions, there are some feelings, emotions that simply cannot be conveyed in English. And then you have to opt into other languages and use their words. If you call it stealing, then sure, go ahead. But sometimes you simply cannot call certain words. You simply cannot express certain ideas and expectations in mere English. And that is very unfortunate, but that is the truth. Heart Lamp seems to recall some of the experiences that Banu Mushtaq herself has encountered and puts into words the thoughts, notions, feelings and motivators of these issues that people, not just women, face in the daily Indian society. Albeit, her novel is a compilation of short stories, of which the one titled High Heels was my absolute favorite. They are all based in the Islam-dominated communities of Karnataka, just like the community that she had been brought up in. So, of course, this is more of a please don't separate the art from the artist kind of thing, because as far as she goes, like I was quite interested when I read the novel. I was quite interested in who she is as a human being and like what she is beyond her books. She's doing an amazing job with all of it, and she's won multiple awards, and it's beautiful to see that her words are one of the things that are really pushing her campaign and pushing her movement in society. So every single story in this book has a wonderful moral that cannot go unnoticed. From materialistic gain being a bad thing to the daily quarrels between a mother-in-law and her son's wife or wives, depending on the culture. The one story that really touched me personally was the one titled High Heels, which I don't want to spoil it for you, but I would love to give you guys the gist of it. So the story follows a man, his brother, and their wives. An emotional adventure which brings to light the patriarchal control and the superficiality of Western ideals. Banu Mushtaq also commends the quiet resilience of women in an oppressive society. All of these ideals are brought to light by the mere existence of the high-heeled shoe, which is a metaphor for the aforementioned superficiality and patriarchal desire for control. So of course, I haven't spoiled the story for you, but I would love it if you guys could actually go ahead, check out the story. Just it's like maybe 10, 15 pages, 20 pages max. And it's a very interesting story. It's not your typical story, because a lot of the times when there is an extended metaphor, you tend to lose sight of what exactly you're reading about. But this wasn't the case in that. And I think that was like absolutely, really commendable. I would absolutely love for you guys to go ahead and give this book a read with an open mind, despite, oh my god, this bug. I would absolutely love for you guys to go ahead and give this book a read with an open mind. Despite the occasional non-English words dropped here and there, one can greatly understand Mushtaq's goal of encouragement without prejudice. Unlike other feministic authors, she also portrays the subconsciously automatic thought process behind the oppression that takes place in our societies. When I say subconsciously automatic thought process, I am saying things that have been embedded into our society and into our lives to the point where you cannot fathom the idea of living in a society where this does not exist. This book, in my opinion, is a solid 4 out of 5 stars, and I trust in you to agree with me when I say that we can all learn something just by picking this up. So that was Heart Lamp by Banu Mushtaq, and I'm so glad that you guys could tune in to this week's episode. I'm also so glad that I actually came out with this week's episode, because I was low-key contemplating not doing anything, but then I was like, that's not fair. Like, you have the time, do it, you know. Even though I don't have the time, I'm pushing as much work as I possibly can. So anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's episode, and I hope to see you guys in the next few weeks' episodes. I don't know about the video episodes because I will be traveling very soon, but I hope I can figure out a way to go around it. But there will definitely be audio episodes. So make sure to check out the Spotify link in my bio and on screen, probably somewhere here. It won't be a link, but it'll be you'll see the name. It's the same name as this channel, so just feel free to check that out. You can also check out my Instagram, you can check out my Spotify, you can check out my YouTube. Wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching, feel free to check it out.